On the evening of June 1st, 2001, Nepal was struck by one of the darkest and most shocking tragedies in its modern history. Inside the walls of Narayanhiti Palace in Kathmandu, a gathering of the royal family turned into a nightmare that would change the destiny of the nation. What began as a routine family dinner ended in bloodshed when Crown Prince Dipendra, heir to the throne, allegedly opened fire on his parents, siblings, and other relatives, killing 10 people in total before turning the gun on himself. This horrific event, known as the Nepalese Royal Massacre, stunned the world and left Nepal reeling in grief, confusion, and disbelief. Even decades later, the incident remains an unresolved scar on the country's history, shaping not only the monarchy, but also the future of Nepal itself. A night of horror. The massacre unfolded during a private family gathering held in Tribhuvan, Sudan, a building within the Narayanhiti Palace complex. According to official reports, Crown Prince Dipendra was heavily intoxicated and possibly under the influence of drugs when he quarreled with members of his family during the party. After being escorted away from the gathering, he retreated to his chambers, where he made several phone calls to his girlfriend, Devyani Rana. A short while later, he returned dressed in army fatigues and carrying multiple weapons, including an assault rifle. In the billiard room where the party was underway, he began shooting at his family members without warning. King Birendra, Queen Aishwarya, and other senior royals were killed almost instantly. The violence did not stop there. Witnesses later recounted that Dipendra moved through the palace grounds, continuing his rampage into the garden, where more family members were slain. Queen Aishwarya and Prince Nirajan, his younger brother, were among those fatally shot outside. In the midst of the chaos, one of Dipendra's uncles attempted to intervene and persuade him to stop, but he too was shot and injured. Finally, Dipendra turned the gun on himself, shooting himself in the head. Although he survived the gunshot, he fell into a deep coma from which he never recovered. The victims of the massacre wiped out almost the entire core of the royal family in a matter of minutes. King Birendra Birbikram Shasdev, widely respected for his role in Nepal's transition to a constitutional monarchy, was among the first to be killed. Queen Aishwarya, admired for her grace and powerful influence in the palace, also perished. The young Prince Nirajan, beloved by many Nepalese for his warmth and charisma, was shot dead alongside several other close relatives, including the king's sisters and senior family members. The sudden loss of so many royals at once devastated the nation, not only because of the personal tragedies, but also because the massacre left the line of succession fractured. Survivors included Prince Gyanendra's family, though his wife, Queen Kamal, sustained serious injuries during the attack. The deaths effectively erased most of the next generation of royals who might have continued the monarchy's legacy, leaving the institution vulnerable at a time of political instability. Searching for motives. The question of why Dipendra would commit such a horrific act has troubled Nepal ever since. The most widely accepted explanation revolves around his desire to marry Devyani Rana, a woman from a powerful Indian aristocratic family. The Nepalese royal family allegedly disapproved of the match, citing political sensitivities and traditional expectations. While the Ranas of Gwalior were immensely wealthy and influential, their connections to Indian politics raised concerns that the marriage might increase Indian influence over Nepal, something the palace was unwilling to risk. The rejection of his choice of partner is often seen as the spark that ignited his anger. However, others argue that Dipendra's frustrations went far deeper. Educated abroad and known for his strong nationalist views, Dipendra was reportedly disillusioned with Nepal's transition from absolute monarchy to constitutional monarchy after the 1990 People's Movement. He was said to resent the fact that his father, King Birendra, had conceded much of the monarchy's traditional power to a democratic system. Some theorists believe the massacre was a reflection of his discontent with the erosion of royal authority, rather than simply the result of personal heartbreak. Despite these theories, no single motive has ever been definitively proven. The absence of a clear explanation has only fueled speculation, leaving many to wonder whether Dipendra truly acted alone or if there were other forces at play. The investigation. In the wake of the massacre, the government established a two-man inquiry committee composed of Chief Justice Keshav Prasad Upadhyaya and the Speaker of Parliament, Tarnath Ranabhat. The investigation lasted just over a week and involved interviews with more than 100 witnesses, including palace staff, security personnel, and family members who survived. The inquiry concluded that Dipendra was solely responsible for the killings, yet the inquiry was heavily criticized both within Nepal and internationally. Many questioned how such a complex case could be resolved in so short a time, especially without thorough forensic analysis. Offers from international agencies such as Scotland Yard to assist with an independent investigation were rejected, further deepening suspicion. For a tragedy of such magnitude, the inquiry appeared rushed and inadequate, leaving behind more doubts than answers. Conspiracy theories and public suspicion. Because of the investigation's shortcomings, conspiracy theories quickly spread across Nepal. One of the most enduring suspicions surrounded Prince Gyanendra, who was absent from the palace on the night of the massacre. After Dipendra's death, Gyanendra assumed the throne, a transition that many found too convenient. Critics accused him of orchestrating the massacre to clear the line of succession in his favor, though no evidence has ever confirmed this. Other theories included claims that multiple gunmen disguised as Dipendra were responsible for the killings, casting doubt on whether the Crown Prince truly carried out the massacre. Some eyewitnesses even suggested that Dipendra had been one of the first to be shot, contradicting the official account. There were also rumors that Gyanendra's controversial son, Paras Shah, had been involved, as well as more outlandish claims that foreign intelligence agencies such as India's Research and Analysis Wing or the CIA masterminded the massacre to destabilize Nepal. Wild stories circulated in the press and on the streets of Kathmandu, ranging from hundreds of hidden victims inside the palace to allegations that Dipendra was murdered in the hospital rather than taking his own life. Although no credible evidence has ever supported these theories, they remain deeply embedded in the public imagination, illustrating the level of mistrust between the people and the palace. The aftermath and the fall of the monarchy. The morning after the massacre, the victims were given a state funeral and cremated at the sacred grounds of Pashupatinath Temple. Tens of thousands of grieving citizens gathered to pay their respects, united in sorrow and disbelief. Dipendra, though lying comatose, was declared king according to constitutional protocol. But after his death 3 days later, Prince Gyanendra officially ascended the throne. Gyanendra's rule, however, was plagued by suspicion and unpopularity from the beginning. Many Nepalis who had admired King Birendra for his fairness and democratic outlook were unwilling to embrace a monarch whose rise was shadowed by tragedy and unanswered questions. At the same time, the Maoist insurgency was gaining ground, plunging Nepal into further political instability. The monarchy's decline accelerated rapidly. In 2006, following widespread protests and a popular movement demanding democracy, King Gyanendra was forced to relinquish absolute power. Just 2 years later, in 2008, the monarchy was formally abolished, and Nepal was declared a federal democratic republic. The massacre of 2001 had not only destroyed a royal family, but had also shattered the institution of monarchy itself. Cultural ripples and legacy. The massacre's impact extended beyond politics into culture and media. Documentaries such as the BBC's Murder Most Royal attempted to reconstruct the events and delve into Dipendra's motivations, particularly his forbidden love for Devyani Rana. Indian cinema also touched on the tragedy, with films like Superstar, later renamed Stupid, loosely dramatizing the love story and massacre. Books such as Raktakunda, based on interviews with palace staff, offered alternative versions of the story and further fueled conspiracy theories. Even video games drew inspiration from the tragedy, with the character Pagan Min in Ubisoft's Far Cry 4 bearing clear references to the massacre and its political consequences. These cultural portrayals reflect how the massacre has seeped into collective consciousness, not just in Nepal but internationally, as an event that combined political drama, personal tragedy, and national crisis. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the Nepalese royal massacre of 2001. If you found this video informative and engaging, don't forget to hit the like and make sure to subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.